close, we won't open our eyes. So we're the last ones to know, we're the last ones alive. Kept our enemies close, wondered why we don't thrive, while we're grasping at ghosts, counting backwards from 5. Counting backwards from 5. Counting backwards from 5.
Count back from 5. The theater on fire, the cast on strike. The studio stock starts taking a dive. The contracts tossed and they're gone with the tide. The heads and execs, their hands are tied. We can't pump this dreck and treat you right. But what do you expect from the industry type who survive by the leeching of bodies and minds? From those who original thoughts never seem to find. So they're gonna reboot ALF before your wages rise. And it gives cause to pause and reflect on the times. If they're losing control of their fools and their mimes, when all those obedient actors who grew their careers by averting their eyes are now holding the line, along with the authors of countless scripts that strengthen the hand of that corporate grip, squeezing our throats till we take the pen and we accept and consent to the corporate drip. Till you're all up to date on your pharma du jour, till you got a healthy support for the war on your lips. And now you know that the advertisers need more than a rerun summer full of flashback clips. Enter the scans from the year before, all the days of de-aging and mapping the face, and the hours of actors recording their voices are links in the chains that will bind them in place. Now all of those shows are so easy to make. When they got a drone they control that needs no break, it can bend, it can break, and it's cheaply replaced enough up-to-date films all in one take. And those studios bank on us doing our duty, unhinging our jaws and digesting the fakes, because they know that we'll love how synthetic it tastes. Watch as they edit your features without any trace. Not that there's anything you could do anyway. Now watch as they show you a movie you saying shit you would never say. Dystopia boldly accelerates. Maybe you're only a mold, something to fill with a clone, something that Elon would celebrate. Something they own, something they program and code, something that's woefully able to know it's exanimate. Cause it doesn't feel touch over top of the laminate. You will not feel an emotion, but they will not scan and examine it. You and the other consumer contaminants fed on the federal diet of Kiev, Havana, and Tiananmen. I can't be the only one weighing the pros of abandonment. I can't be the only one weighing the pros of abandonment.
Where did you think we'd go? Love, there's nowhere to lie. Guess it's not who you know, more it's what you can hide. Like we're chained to the floor, they're streaming us live while we're watching the war, counting backwards from 5. Counting backwards from 5. Counting backwards from 5. Counting backwards.
Good morning, Sunday morning. Good morning, Sunday morning.
We're 40 Sunday mornings out from normal, and the world is not the same. Said you waited for a warning, but the warning never came. Don't shine a light in my face.
Nancy gonna cut you a check too late. 2 years after your funeral's paid, 2 years after the grave, she'll be a little stronger for all of the dollars she saved. Watching you wake, watching you cling to your family slipping away. Watch her do nothing but pray. Watch her condemn the Republicans, take them to brunch and then shrug it away. Now watch us be outraged half of a day, then pick a new hero to face our leaders and think they could beat them, playing the game they played since Pelosi had real human blood in her veins. They're all one and the same, sold off stocks and they all maintain that the risk was benign and the virus was tame. Flash forward in 40 Sunday mornings fade, 250,000 people in its wake and the cruise ship sailed today. Some motherfucker don't shine a light in my face. Wait.
Good morning, Sunday morning. Good morning, Sunday morning.
We're 40 Sunday mornings out from normal and the world is not the same. Said you waited for a warning, but the warning never came. Don't shine a light in my face. Said you waited for a warning, but the warning never.
No, Indy left. What is happening here?
To check out IndependentLeft.news.
The Indie News Network.
Indie Left News.
Oh, hey, Indie Left.
IndependentLeft.news. Great work.
Indie Left News.
IndependentLeft.news.
Independent Left News.
We're world building indie.
Indie Left News.
You were doing the IN in recruiting.
Indie News.
Independent Left News. Shout out to Independent Left News.
Check out Independent Left News.
Not getting any news.
I see Indy's in the chat. Hi, Indy. Okay, great. Bye.
Who are these people?
All right. I don't know what the heck happened there. Sorry with that intro video. I got to take a look and reset OBS and figure that out. Hi, everybody. It's Sunday.
What's up, fam?
It's Indy here. It's Reef over there. And it's How Do We Miss That? So we're going to do some stories. And then about midnight, we will get over to boats smashing into other boats. And of course, yes, correct, cynic. The answer is...
Who are these people?
That is the question of the day. I don't know. Oh, is my sound still on? My audio speakers? Yes, they were. No, that's not good. All right, we're going to fix that. All right, we are live everywhere. YouTube, Rumble, Rockfin, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, Telegram, 7 channels, INN, Indie Left. You can find us everywhere. Share the hell out of this thing. You know we're suppressed like crazy and nobody wants to see it, or nobody wants to let anyone else see it. We got family in the house all over the place. How is Fred Edward not modded? So we're going to fix that right now, because Mr. Fred Edward should certainly be a mod on INN. Don't know what's going on with that, but that has been remedied. All right. We've got some stories for tonight. They're not exactly the most uplifting, but then again, this show is not what you come to for uplifting content, I would say. It's to get informed and find out what the fuck is going on. Right, that's the fun one. But it's really to find out what the fuck is going on out there, and we're going to let you know, because not many people are. And I'm grateful, and Reef's grateful that you're here. And we're gonna get started with, as Kit likes to say, our first segment of the day. Oh, let's close this down before I hit that. Okay. Oh my goodness. What is going on here? What in tarnation? By the way, hello Animators. Friend of the show, friend of the network, friend of everyone. But what in God's name, this man in the middle, if you don't know, His name is David McBride. He's an Australian whistleblower.
Try sharing the screen with me.
Oh, would you like to see my screen, sir? Would you now?
That'd be nice.
Oh, would you now?
Would you?
Would you?
Oh, would I?
Could you? Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be?
Oh, please, mister.
Oh, wait, I have to share it as the browser for you to see for you to hear the sound, right? Yes, I believe so.
Sure, or you can virtual webcam it. One of the two.
I would rather not do that. Go live. Okay. Now, what's happening with this guy? So David McBride is a whistleblower. I think we've talked about him before. He's a big friend of Misty's. He's a friend of the show, friend of the network, friend of Assange. He was a Australian SAS soldier who then became a lawyer. He blew the whistle on soldiers committing war crimes, and naturally, he's the one going to prison. So it's just kind of a funny, quick hit that we see here. Now, this is a long video. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but from Boy, our friend is going to jail. That's the guy in the middle. So
this is our mate, David McBride. Now, it might look like he's having fun, but sadly, this is our last shower together as best friends, because David here is going to prison for life. He's what you'd call a whistleblower. You all know what a whistle sounds like. Now, he's a soldier who served in Afghanistan who realised that Aussie soldiers were committing some of the most heinous war crimes imaginable, and his superiors were covering it up. So he told the public about it. And thanks to David's bravery, nothing happened.
Oh, the poppers!
All the war criminals and generals are free, all the politicians are free. David's the one that's going to jail for the crime of telling us about it. Oh. So, how long are you going to jail?
5 years.
That's a good icebreaker.
That laugh.
I don't know. It could be the rest of my life. So that brings things into a sharp focus, because you kind of think this could be the last time I go to Bondi Beach, last time I watch a movie, last time I play PlayStation. You want to come up?
Oh.
If I go inside, I want to try to get him to be my cellmate.
Well, you got to get him to whistleblow.
The drug dogs. You can whistleblow the drug dogs.
False positive. On purpose.
You could infiltrate the drug dogs.
Now, to understand how David got into this position, we've got to understand what brought him to Afghanistan and what brought anyone to Afghanistan. And to do that, we need to go back to the 70s when Afghanistan was really cool.
So, again, I don't want to show this whole video. Basically, again, he found war crimes. He reported war crimes. But what I wanted to do was read a couple of an article that I brought from John Kiriakou in our
I'll link it in the chat for people. If you want to watch it after this.
It'll be in the link in the description afterwards, also on the Substack. Consortium News, Indie Media Award honoree, published an exclusive from John Kiriakou, ex-CIA whistleblower, who really explains exactly what happened here. And so Kiriakou's article starts as the heroism of David McBride. Please support Consortium News. We're going to bring another piece from them next about Julian Assange, and they're live to cover the hearing that we're going to talk about next as well. And David McBride was a huge supporter of Julian Assange, also Australian. So you can see there were a lot of similarities in how no one would listen to his story, how it was impossible to get Australian politicians to side with him. So let's just see. By 2014, McBride had compiled a dossier into profound command failings that saw examples of potential war crimes in Afghanistan, overlooked, and other soldiers wrongly accused. On Tuesday, he was sentenced to nearly 6 years in jail, 5 years and 8 months. So sometimes a whistleblower does everything right. he or she makes a revelation that's clearly in the public interest. This revelation is clearly a violation of the law. And then he or she is even more clearly abused by the government. It would be if these stories it would be great if these stories always had happy endings. Unfortunately, they don't. In this case, the whistleblower, the hero Australian David McBride, has been sentenced to 5 years and 8 months in prison for telling the truth. He will not even be eligible for parole for 27 months. David McBride is a former British Army officer and a lawyer with the Australian Special Forces who blew the whistle on war crimes committed by Australian soldiers in Afghanistan, specifically the killing of 39 unarmed Afghan prisoners, farmers, and civilians in 2012. After failing to raise a response through official channels, McBride shared the information with the Australian Broadcasting Company, or ABC, which published a series of major reports based on the material. The ABC broadcast in 2017 led to a major inquiry that upheld many of the allegations. And despite this, the ABC and its journalists themselves came under the threat of prosecution for their work on the story. The ABC offices in Sydney were raided by the National Police, but in the end the government did not prosecute an ABC journalist because it was not in the public interest. But McBride himself, however, was prosecuted for dissemination of official information. Now, did you cover this at all, Reef? Have you ever covered the McBride case on INA News?
Yeah, we covered it under, I think, We're All Spartacus. Look for that in the. I'll link it in chat for people and send it to you for the description and shit. But yeah, it's a thing we covered a while back, a couple months ago when this case was starting to
when they found him guilty. I think when they found him guilty before the sentencing, which was this week,
or we're about to, one of the two.
Yeah, let's go back a few years.
So let me find that.
McBride at the time already was a seasoned attorney. After studying for a second law degree at Oxford, he joined the British military and eventually moved back to Australia, where he became a lawyer in the Australian Defence Forces, ADF. In that role, he had 2 tours in Afghanistan in 2011 and 2013. So while on deployment, McBride became critical of the terms of engagement and other regulations that soldiers were working under, which he felt were endangering military personnel for the sake of political imperatives determined elsewhere. Well, that sounds familiar. By 2014, McBride had compiled a dossier, it said, into profound command failings, like we said earlier, that saw examples of potential war crimes in Afghanistan overlooked, and of course, other soldiers wrongly accused. My guess is those were the people that were probably looking to blow the whistle, and they were looking to get rid of them on the operation. His internal complaints were suppressed and ignored because that would have exposed the wrongdoings of the people at the top. McBride's reports also looked at other matters, including the military's handling of sexual abuse allegations. After his use of internal channels had proven ineffective, McBride gave his report to the police, and eventually he contacted journalists at ABC. Now, ABC's Afghan files documented several incidents of Australian soldiers killing unarmed civilians, including children, and questioned the prevalent warrior culture in the special forces. Subsequent to McBride's disclosures, the behavior of other coalition special forces in Afghanistan also came under sustained investigation. So again, this guy reported and whistleblew and told, tried to tell people at the top, hey, you had soldiers killing Afghan children. They didn't want to know from it, and they'd rather put this guy in jail for telling them.
Mm-hmm.
In many ways, McBride's reports went further than the issues identified by ABC. Amid prevalent rumors that Australian troops were responsible for war crimes, questionable deaths in Afghanistan had led to calls for investigations. I would expect so. So, in November 2020, the Brereton Report, which was formerly called the Inspector General of the Australian Defence Force Afghan Inquiry Report, it was published, utterly vindicating
Say that 5 times
McBride.
fast.
Yeah, right. McBride and the ABC. Judge Paul Brereton found evidence of multiple incidents involving Australian personnel that had led to the 39 deaths. Among his recommendations were the investigation of these incidents for possible future criminal charges. There, of course, would be almost no criminal charges, however. We're now 5 years later or more. At least there would be only one eventual criminal charge against one single soldier in the murder of Afghan civilians. There have been no charges against the officers who covered up the war crimes. Instead, though, there would be serious charges against McBride for theft of government property, of course, the information, and for sharing with members of the press documents classified as secret. He faced life in prison. Now, what really pisses me off about this is I thought that when you were exposing a crime, like this stuff, this sharing with members of the press, like doesn't apply. It only applies if it's classified because it's not a crime. So, McBride's sentence illustrates the challenges that Australian whistleblowers face when reporting evidence of waste, fraud, abuse, illegality, or threats to public health or public safety. Well, first, just like in the United States, there are no protections for national security whistleblowers. David took his career and indeed his life into his hands when he decided to go public with his revelations, but what else could he do? And if you watch any interviews with him, he's absolutely convinced that he did the right thing, that was the only thing to do, and that it will hopefully prevent future war crimes from happening because of what he exposed.
Which is one of the reasons they sent him to jail, was because he's not showing any remorse.
Right. He can't be rehabilitated. So what's the point? Rehabilitated to sign on to the current. Point? Well, that's the current thing. It's rehabilitated to accept the current thing. Yeah, he's never going to be rehabilitated to that. I can promise you.
Yeah, it's like 1984 shit.
Right. Second, as in the United States, there is no affirmative defense. McBride, like Snowden, Jeffrey Sterling, Daniel Hale, and like John Kiriakou himself, the author of this article, was forbidden from standing up in court and saying, yes, I gave the information to the media because I witnessed a war crime or a crime against humanity. What I did was in the public interest. Those words are never permitted to be spoken in a court in the United States or Australia. And he talks about recalling Nuremberg, and here's a photo of the Nuremberg trials from 1945, guarded by American military police, funny enough. The third, Australia is in dire need of some legal reforms. The judge in McBride's case said at sentencing that McBride had no duty as an army officer beyond following orders. That defense was attempted at Nuremberg, and it failed. I was only following orders. I remember
orders. It was only orders.
Like it's time for the Australian judiciary to get into the 21st century. There are a couple of points of light in this whole fiasco. The Brereton Commission did indeed recommend that 19 members of the Australian Special Forces be prosecuted for war crimes. So far, one has been charged with a crime. He's accused of shooting and killing a civilian in a wheat field in Uruzgan province. I just butchered that 3 times. In 2012, blah, blah, blah.
God bless you.
And McBride will be allowed to appeal his conviction, but he won't be allowed to spend it out of jail on appeal. Still, any other light at the end of the tunnel is likely an oncoming train rather than relief for the whistleblower. But the bottom line is this. There's a war against whistleblowers in Australia, just like there is in the United States. Indeed, Andrew Wilkie, who is a former Australian government intelligence analyst turned whistleblower, and now a member of parliament, says that the, quote, Australian government hates whistleblowers, unquote, and that it wanted to punish David McBride and send a signal to other government insiders to remain silent, even in the face of witnessing horrible crimes. I would say exactly the same thing about the United States. Just ask a man by the name of Daniel Hale, who recently got out of prison.
Yep.
John says, I'm proud to call David McBride a friend, and I know Misty would say the same. I know exactly what he's going through right now, but his sacrifice will not be in vain. History will smile on him. Yes, the next several years will be tough. He'll be a prisoner. He'll be separated from his family, and when he gets out of prison, well into his 60s, he'll have to begin rebuilding his life. But he's right, and his government is wrong. And the future generations will understand and appreciate what he did for them. That's if they even find out.
Away.
Yeah, well, I'm hopeful that John is correct, but I'm also a little skeptical because I think that corporate media will go out of their way to try to smear him. And that, man. So here's John. He's a former CIA counterterrorism officer, former senior investigator for the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. He became the sixth whistleblower indicted by the Obama administration under the Espionage Act, a law designed to punish spies. He served 23 months in prison as a result of his attempts to oppose the Bush administration's torture program. He reported on waterboarding.
Thanks, Obama.
Yes, thanks for that. And again, support our friends over at Consortium News, Kathy Vogan, Joe Loria, John Kiriakou, Patrick Lawrence writes for The Flautist. He also does some exclusives over here. They're one of the best of the best of the best. I love these people dearly. They cover Assange tremendously. Tremendous coverage. Tremendous. All right, so you sent me something last night about David, and this is 8.5 minutes. This I want to watch because this we started watching, and I was like, oh, this is good. We definitely need to show this. I think people will enjoy it.
You know, he's put the speed to 1.21 gigawatts or whatever.
1.21. That's the fastest. A bolt of lightning. Okay.
You guys see the news coming out of Canberra? It's crazy. Take a read of this. Former ACT public servant who climbed into a colleague's bed and raped her will be eligible for parole just 4 days after sentencing. Haider Ali, 38, received a jail term of more than 2 years when he appeared in the ACT Supreme Court on Thursday. He was ordered to serve a non-parole period of 17 months, but with the sentence backdated to take into account the time on remand, he will be eligible for release from custody next Monday. This one, teenage boy who raped a sleeping friend at his Canberra home has avoided jail despite showing minimal insight into his offending and its impact on the victim. What about this? Rising sports star rapist dodges time in prison despite lack of remorse. A rising Canberra sports star who showed no remorse for the rape of a teenage girl has avoided time behind bars and inclusion on the child sex offender register. Did you hear about this? Andrew Ralston, former AFP employee, spared jail on Instagram child sex grooming charge. A former Australian Federal Police employee sent an 11-year-old girl a message on Instagram, including one saying, "I want to see your nude body." It also reminds me about this thing that happened. Former Comanchero boss, Peter Zadrovic, dodges time behind bars after naked shootout. And this, Canberra father walks free after nearly 9 months in custody over Moncrief kidnapping. A cowardly Canberra father who assaulted a man during an 8-hour torture session at Moncrief has walked free from court after spending nearly 9 months in custody. What about this? Gunpoint rapist, granted parole. An armed rapist and child sex offender who has been branded a high risk of committing more sex crimes has been rubber stamped for release at a secret parole hearing. Justice David Mossock, in 2017, jailed Hadara for more than 5 years with a 2-year, 8-month and 2-week non-parole period. Isn't the news coming out of Canberra just wild? And you know what all these rapists, pedophiles, torturers, kidnappers and groomers have in common? They're all people that the ACT Supreme Court Justice David Mossock thinks deserve less time in jail than war crimes whistleblower David McBride.
That's insane!
Oh. That's ridiculous.
I'm gonna stop that right there.
No,
so you
they
can
all got
process.
They all got less time in jail than McBride. Apart from the gunpoint rapist, the article says he got over 5 years in prison, which is probably around the same or less than McBride, who was sentenced to 5 years and 8 months. Fortunately, the article doesn't specify how long exactly Massa paid the gunpoint rapist, but he was out on parole after around 3 years. Okay.
Just in case it wasn't clear,
Good old
Mossop,
friendly
the judge presiding
Geordies.
over David McBride's case, was also the judge or the appellate judge in every case I just mentioned. Isn't it amazing that Mossop is more vindictive towards David McBride, a veteran, a former lawyer, a man who nobody will dare allege as a risk to anyone, than he is to steroid-using, gun-toting, repeat-offending, pedophile rapist branded high risk of committing more sex crimes? In case you missed it, whistleblower David McBride has been sentenced to 5 years and 8 months in jail with 2 years and 3 months no parole for his sick, violent, perverted, and self-satisfied crime of exposing war crimes and cover-ups of war crimes in Afghanistan. He is now officially the first Australian soldier to go to jail for their conduct in Afghanistan. Let that be a warning to all future potential whistleblowers next time you're frustrated about seeing government-sanctioned murders. Don't try and report it. Don't foolishly expect accountability. Do not go after the deep state and think you can win. Do not be induced by their doublespeak about transparency and accountability and honour. Instead, go out, grab a gun, shove it in someone's face and rape them. Let off some steam. You'll likely face lesser consequences and fuck your life up less than if you're in front of American intelligence community's favourite judge, David Mossop. This judgment should be his albatross. If you make decisions entirely out of line with pretty much not just every legal expert who doesn't die in Australia's intelligence community every second week, but Australian public opinion in general, you should fully expect to feel the weight of that on you in your day-to-day life. After all, we are meant to be in a democracy, and it's very dangerous when our elite begin to forget that. Now, I have a lot to say about not just this judgment, but the successive judgments David Mossop made that went out of their way to deny even the smallest concessions to McBride. That will come in due course. I will also have a lot to say about all the wicked demon lawyers who made their living for the past few years trying to put a good man, I mean, that he's far more impressive and honourable than themselves in jail. But first I have to say, what does it serve putting McBride in jail? Put aside any legal, ethical or moral questions. They've already been comprehensively addressed by McBride's lawyers, despite them being deprived of key evidence by both Oz government spooks and our national broadcaster, the ABC, who abandoned McBride in his time of need. Forget all that legal shit. Forget even the question about duty for now. Just mull on this. A man who the overwhelming majority of Australians think should never have been prosecuted is now going to jail for 5 years and 8 months.
Yep.
That is a much longer sentence than anyone, even I think the government expected, the same government that whilst going on and on about how prosecution should be at arm's length, was instructing prosecution to push for jail time. This is dangerous for democracy. And I'm not even going into the chilling effect it'll have on future whistleblowers. Like, just think about it this way. In the wake of all the crazy shit COVID brought out in everyone, in a time when social cohesion and trust in government is at record lows, when it seems like every second person you meet has a martyr complex, this is very bad for perceptions and the political enfranchisement of Australians, throwing a man who most Australians think is a hero in jail. I know McBride's case might seem like a small Canberra elite issue. It's not. Videos of him are reaching millions. Articles about him are the most commonly read on any given day. The Australian government would be very, very foolish to underestimate the mimetic power of the fact that the only soldier going to prison for their conduct related to the Afghanistan war is a war crimes whistleblower. The decent people in Australia's government and bureaucracy should be just as gravely concerned about the burgeoning distrust of government in Australia. They need to reckon with the growing inability of the professional managerial class to act in accordance with the views of the majority of Australians. No one encapsulates that divide more so than Justice David Mossop in his McBride judgment. If the power of the international intelligence community continues to subvert the centuries-old and fairly simple concepts like open justice in Australia, it won't just be McBride who pays the price. It'll be all of us. I mean, do we really want to end up with a political system that resembles the US? This is a really, really, really big turning point for Australia. No one cares about your stupid e-safety commissioner shit, Albo. No one cares about your manufactured culture war crises. You're degrading democracy with this bizarre info-paternalism. But you can never build trust or faith in institutions by incompetently preventing Australians from knowing the truth, or by following the US model of Democrats propping up culture war crap. The government has no ability to address them in the first place, and then grandstanding on them and pretending the government can solve it. People can see through this shit. And eventually, you will end up looking like ScoMo, continually demonstrating your contempt for normal Australians, as if they're too stupid to comprehend the basics of government. Instead, have the tiniest bit of courage. Start following the majority opinion a little bit more. This could have been a non-issue. McBride's prosecutions could have been dropped in an instant. Instead, David McBride will be an albatross around the necks of Canberra's institutions for a very long time. He is now a symbol of the disconnect between Australia's political class and the views of normal Australians. I'll have a longer video on McBride's sentence and the judgment very soon, and I would organise some sort of student protest to free McBride. But I keep getting accused of being racist towards Canberrans for my slogan, "From Lake Burley Griffin to the headquarters of the AFP, David McBride will be free." We've been making videos about McBride for over 3 years. I get that it's an old trope, but I think that it's because it is the most visible example of the tentacles of the American deep state strangling our nation's
Water to
institutions.
water.
As McBride, I know you can't see this video from jail, but for the love of God, somebody put it on a USB and smuggle it up their arse so they can show him. 5 years and 8 months might seem like a long time. Don't worry, it's nowhere near as long of a time as eternity, which is exactly how long Justice David Mossop and Prosecutor Patricia McDonald will be spending in hell.
So good. So good. I know.
Good job, Jordies.
Nobody
You wonder why that guy gets his house firebombed.
Nobody shove
right
nobody shove a USB stick anywhere to take it to David. But
I mean, do what you got to do, friends. Do what you got to do.
But please write him a letter. It's a lot
Files
less
and cakes.
a lot less intrusive. But Comrade Misty reached out to Kathy originally to see if she had any information the other day on how we could write to David in prison. And she pointed us to a website which included information, no prisoner number. Sleepy Josh said, let's please send David some mail. And we had an update to this just before we went live. Misty posted at 9:21 earlier tonight, posted to David's YouTube page that, hi everyone, David here. Team David, of course. First, our deepest thanks to all the support that David's channel has received in the last week in response to recent videos. We've kept David's family informed about it, and they're blown away to say the least. David will get updated about it in the coming days. The image you see is the actual prison cell that David is now confined to. If you'd like to send a letter, here's an address. That's up on screen now. Unfortunately, no unboxing videos. Some guidelines set by the staff. Letters only. No glitter or glue. And no abusive material. The prison staff do review everything, and it will be thrown out if you do put anything abusive. His greatest need right now is to raise funds for his appeal. So please donate a few bucks if you can.
So, like, I couldn't call the guard watching over him a piece of shit. That's not allowed.
That probably wouldn't be beneficial to him either. Just a guess.
And that the judges are dickheads.
Well,
didn't put that in there either.
Well, Judge Mossop is a pedophile, rapist, apologist, creeper, scumbag, but that's a fact. That's not putting anything inflammatory. That's just stating fact.
It's not abusive. That is just stating facts.
Right. We know many of you have a lot of questions, especially given the complexity of David's case. There are a few moving parts. We hear you. We are working on some content that will help to explain things in more detail. His book, The Nature of Honor, also outlines his background and the lead up to his decision to go public. You can, I'm guessing, get that on Amazon, but directly at penguin.com. Again, you'll find this, Misty linked this in her Twitter, so you can go to Misty's Twitter. Can't thank everybody enough. Yep. And we of course...
You could ask the guards maybe to get him more cigarettes. I don't know. A couple of extra ramen packs. Something, you know. Treat him well. That'd be nice.
Interesting. Yeah.
You know, don't lock his cell that well. You know.
Judge Worm. Yep. So
anyway,
shit, man, David McBride. I wish him all the best.
Yeah.
It's garbage the way they did this. The judge said, and by the way, Misty did a live stream on Tuesday night after the verdict and after the sentencing, and she went through like all the reasons why it's bullshit. And the judge basically said, normally 2 years is a long sentence, but we basically want to make we want to make an example out of you. That's, let's go back for a second. That is the jail cell, by the way, that he's staying in.
Okay.
All right. So.
Well.
All right. Cool. Dude is the last guy I want to argue with. I don't know which one, but I'm guessing that is Jimmy Dore, because Mastermind says there's something going on, an event with Jimmy, so he's not watching. We know why. There's a little thing. What's up with your broadcasting? Look for you to know. Oh, okay. Anyway. Anyway, we're going to get to our next story. Assange's hearing is Monday. And wait, that's like in a few hours, actually. So what's happening here?
We'll keep tabs on that.
Yeah. So first of all, all right, let's get to, again, Consortium News, Indie Media Award honoree. Laying it down for what's going to happen. Assange's hearing is Monday, so we want to help us cover it. All right. Consortium will be in London, so this is the extradition or appeal. What is going to happen? Thank goodness for The people that stand outside and protest and hang banners every day, rain or shine. This picture was taken by Joe Loria from Consortium News, who wrote this article. And he writes, the High Court of England and Wales on Monday will issue its ruling on the validity of 2 U.S. promises to not execute imprisoned WikiLeaks publisher Julian Assange if he is convicted in the United States, and that he may ask an American court to allow him a First Amendment defense if he stands trial in America. I can't even believe I just had to read that sentence. It's so dystopian.
Yeah.
At stake is Assange's application to the High Court appeal to appeal the decision and the Home Secretary's order to extradite him to federal court in Alexandria, Virginia. There, he would stand trial on U.S. Espionage Act charges for publishing classified material that revealed evidence of U.S. war crimes in a manner identical to that of any journalist. The First Amendment is at the core of the unconstitutionality of the Espionage Act. The Assange case could lead to a constitutional challenge of it. I think it almost certainly would. The imprisoned publisher is also charged with conspiracy to commit computer intrusion, and we all know that that's absolutely untrue, but they're not even questioning whether that is real or not. They're basically already convicting him, even though the whistleblower that accused him has admitted now that he lied and been convicted of pedophilia himself. His name is Siggy Thordassian. Yep. The High Court in London on March 26th ruled that Assange had 3 grounds to appeal because 1, his extradition was incompatible with his free speech rights enshrined in the European Convention on Human Rights. That 2, he might be prejudiced because of his nationality, not being given First Amendment protection as a non-American, which I had never heard of. I didn't realize that if you made it into the United States, that you are not protected by the United States Constitution. But also 3, because he had inadequate protection against the death penalty. Without such protection, Britain cannot extradite him. And the U.S. cannot possibly provide such protection without lying. Rather than proceed with the appeal on those 3 grounds, the High Court gave the U.S. the chance, 4 years after the extradition process began, to promise that it would not use the death penalty and to guarantee his free speech rights. But because the decision about Assange asserting a First Amendment defense at trial will be up to the U.S. court and not the Department of Justice, the DOJ could not issue such an assurance on the free speech issue. And that's what I was saying. It's impossible for them to request. The Justice Department could not possibly say with assurances that he would be offered First Amendment protections, because it's not up to them. Assange's lawyers have challenged the U.S. promises in written submissions, and we will hear the High Court's decision on Monday. I also don't see how they,
in a couple hours,
how they possibly rule that the death penalty thing isn't like an end of the line kind of thing. Like they can throw new charges at him the minute he gets there that include the death penalty. There. And they asked that question and they said, yeah, we're not going to guarantee that we can't do that.
We covered the bullshit like assurances, right? And I forget who said it. Might have been Marie T. It might have been Joe Loria, right? Mm-hmm. But it was essentially like none of those assurances mean anything.
Nope.
Because essentially the White House has no jurisdiction. Like the courts can do what the fucking courts want to do,
right?
Like they have no way to stop that. You know, you like the only way is to bring it all the way up to the judicial system, up to the Supreme Court, and then you have those guys delivering verdicts. So, like, there is no assurances that can be made. So I don't know. I mean, this case should have been thrown out. The fact that, like, he's a political prisoner should have already canceled all of this. Like,
right, but
you know, there are jurisdiction things here that Britain has already ruled how they were going to act on, and now they are rescinding all of those previous deals.
Yes,
so
all of it, and they're using the UK to effectively imprison a guy, you know, indefinitely without real trial.
Yeah.
Because they can't really do that here. So either Assange will be granted an appeal on the outstanding First Amendment issue, presuming the court will accept the assurance against the death penalty, or he will have reached the end of the road in the British courts and could be extradited at any time, barring an injunction from the European Court of Human Rights. Right. Now, I'm going to...
So the question is going to be, would they rather have this trial like now during election season, or do they want to wait and push the can down the road?
Yep.
Like,
well, and that's
to me is what's, you know.
I think. All right, let's finish getting through this whole thing, because so Consortium News will physically be inside the courtroom at the Royal Courts of Justice in London to deliver live tweeting plus print and video reports throughout the day and week. God bless them. Consortium News has been recognized as having the most comprehensive and incisive coverage of the historic Assange case of any media organization in the world. We couldn't do it without the generous support of our readers and viewers, and I'm proud of them for being that. You can greatly help us with our London coverage by making a donation to the Spring Fund Drive. They are 501c3, so all the donations you make are tax deductible. Please support independent media. Please support Consortium News. I love these people. We need a ton more people like them. They're so good. They really are. Look, nobody's perfect, but when it comes to the best of the best of the best, everyone once in a while steps in, has blind spots, whatever. Some people don't like what Joe did when it comes to COVID. Some people don't like some other people what takes with other stuff. Like, but overall, like, we don't have that many that are this good. Everyone makes mistakes occasionally, but in the long run, you know, they do the right thing just about all the time. They're in the right place. So here's from Assange Defense. That's Vince in the United States. He also helped coordinate the Sunday concerts for Assange. He runs the Free Assange. They used to be called something else on Instagram. We covered that. It used to be called like Don't Extradite.
For Assange was
Stella
and
with these guys.
Jesse on there recently.
Right, exactly. They hosted Jesse back in March. So Vince is the one who runs this. And they put in, well, we're going to get to her next, what to expect at Julian's hearing. And it's very similar again. It just kind of rehashes what's going to happen. The High Court will first hear arguments from the defense and the prosecution regarding the assurances. Julian's final appeal hearing, reminding you, was held on February 20th and 21st this year. That was day X. We covered that live stream 2 days in a row, 10 hours one day, 11 and a half hours the other, or something like that, 20 hours of coverage. Okay, upon which the judges made a ruling on March 26th, provisionally allowing Julian to appeal the decision to extradite him to the U.S., but only if the U.S. doesn't provide sufficient assurances that he will not be sentenced to death and that he will be allowed to rely on the First Amendment, that is, his right to free speech. So on April 16th, the U.S. has issued a diplomatic note in which it gave a non-assurance in relation to the First Amendment and a standard assurance in relation to the death penalty. The non-assurance is, again, because the Justice Department could not possibly make that deal. and on the matter of Assange's First Amendment rights, the U.S. has said that he could seek to raise them or argue that they should not be disallowed. But of course, we know that that wouldn't happen. Now the High Court will convene again to hear defense and prosecution arguments regarding assurances provided by the U.S. and decide whether they're sufficient to allow him to be extradited immediately. If the High Court rules that assurances are sufficient and rejects the appeal, that will be the end of the road. Like we said, the defense will then attempt to appeal to the European Court of Human Rights. And this is what I wanted to stress, though that is not guaranteed. There's no guarantee that the European Court of Human Rights even takes up the case. If the High Court allows the appeal to go ahead, this will mean another British appeal process with the right to First Amendment protections at the heart of it. And I'm going to say something a little controversial here, but I think this is what they're going to do. Because this kicks the can down the road probably till November. At least a couple of more months. Allow for one of the things to be appealed and go forward. Yeah, sure. And we'll reject it 6 months later. They just want what they're trying to do is, unfortunately, and I love the man and I want to see him out and free Julian Assange. They're trying to run the clock out on him.
10 more years, Julian.
They're trying to see him die in prison in Britain so they don't have to extradite him here. And I hate to say that, and it kills me to say that, but I got to be honest, and that's what I see. Ahead of the hearing, Amnesty International legal advisor Simon Crowther, who will attend on May 20th to monitor the proceedings, stated that, quote, as the court reconvenes to determine Julian Assange's fate, we repeat the enormous repercussions at stake if he's extradited to the USA, the risk that he would be subjected to human rights violations, and the long-lasting damage that would be done to global media freedom. There's already been damage done to global media freedom because they're locking him up right now for doing journalism, taking away his ability to communicate with the outside world on top of it.
Emotional damage.
Like, sorry, Amnesty, that's a little bit weak sauce right there. So, Stella also, as a reminder, Stella has a Substack, StellaAssange.substack.com. Come on, hit me with it.
Stella! Coming to a Substack newsletter near you.
Mayday, Mayday. Please join us on May 20th as we gather outside the Royal Courts of Justice in London for Julian's new hearing. Again, dystopian, it feels like fucking Groundhog Day. Here's what to expect, and this is a short video.
You can't build a just civilization out of ignorance and lies. We have to educate each other. We have to celebrate those who reveal the truth and denounce those.
You know some of the people that are going to be appearing there. We've covered a lot of their stories. We even know that guy, Matthew Ho. He's been on INN. We got merch. Where to follow, where to find them. Free Assange, free us all. For those of you who can't make it in person, please watch our live stream, and Stella will be live. We will also be live on INN. Misty will be live on her channels, and we will be covering it on the channels off of YouTube that she will not be live on, namely Rumble, Facebook. Where else? Twitch and Twitter. I put it out to those 4 channels. I don't think anybody's going to be awake to actually turn on Rockfin, so we're not going to Rockfin. She says, we would love to be able to showcase the solidarity protests that are happening around the world. If you'd like to include your videos and pics from the day, please join our dedicated Telegram channel. So there's a t.me/Assange supporters action/content. Check this out. So this is a silent film. We like those. Simply upload your videos to our Telegram channel. Assange supporters action content. Download the Telegram app. They're teaching you how to do it. Search the Telegram app for Assange supporters action content. You'll see that icon. Click it. And then watch all your videos that that are uploaded on YouTube. So they made some merch to mark the day. You can pick that up at the StellaAssange.store. Thank you, everyone, for your initiative, support, and tireless actions. Together, we will win this. Free Assange. Free us all. Yeah. Free Julian Assange. Because fuck the United States for doing what they're doing and persecuting him. It's shameful, it's disgraceful, and I'm sick of talking about it, but until they stop persecuting him, we're not going to stop. So far, we've talked about a whistleblower being persecuted and jailed, unfairly. We've talked about Julian Assange, who was, of course, being persecuted and jailed unfairly. Unfortunately, our stories aren't going to get much happier, folks. I wish I could do a little better than that. But we all know this lady. She's phenomenal, and she doesn't get nearly enough shine. Vanessa Beeley, independent journalist, Indie Media Award honoree, class of 2022, the inaugural class. She wrote an article this week, and she writes articles a lot. She's over at Substack, vanessabeeley.substack.com. She also has a website, vanessabeeley.com. I think it's like The Wall Will Fall, or is that Eva's? I always get them confused, Eva Bartlett and Vanessa. Vanessa writes a piece here where she actually pulls from a Israeli piece in Hebrew and then translates it into English to explain what the hell is going on. And wow. Yeah. Gaza 2035. Netanyahu's dystopian vision for Gaza's future. So I saw a picture floating through my feed on Notes, I think it was, that Vanessa had shared. And I'm like, oh my goodness, look at this. So this is one of the photos that, let me back this out a little bit so you can see it in full. It shows some cheeks standing in a parking lot of Tesla. You got 80 pounds of Tony Fauci merchant. A lot of electric and luxury cars right there. With this is their vision for.
Needs some perspective help on this photo. Jesus Christ!
This is their vision for Gaza.
Like the people are the same size as a building.
Yeah.
Like either that's a tiny building.
I think it's a model.
Or
I think it's a model.
Very large people.
So, from crisis to prosperity.
Yeah, but look at the cars.
No,
go back up. Go back up, weirdo. Look at the car. Look at the car. We got tiny little cars over there. Like Hot Wheels.
It's scale.
They got like little Tykes cars. I know it's scale. I'm just gonna make fun of it because it's really bad.
It is. Yes, but it's also AI.
Continue, I guess.
From crisis to prosperity. Transformation of Gaza from an Iranian shrine to a moderate axis. This is the tagline of a recent Ynet article in Hebrew that reports on the Netanyahu administration examination of a dystopian vision of Gaza's future as a hideous Dubai Singapore-style outpost of Zionist and US-UK military and economic hegemony in West Asia. Okay. Previously, Ron Ben Yishai had written for Ynet, quote, "It is hard to imagine the Gaza Strip becoming the tiny and glittering country in East Asia, but it is the vision that Netanyahu is trying to advance behind the scenes. The idea: complete detachment from Israel and connection to the world through a maritime corridor to Cyprus and a land crossing to Egypt, tens of billions of dollars to be spent on the restoration of destruction and tourism and high-tech ventures and civilian rule based on international bodies. These buds can be seen on the beach where a pier for humanitarian aid was erected, but it will take a lot of persuasion and execution efforts, namely of the remaining Palestinian people, to make the dream a reality. This reminds me of like SimCity 2000 on the computer. You remember like the buildings that had all the greenery up the sides and shit?
Mm-hmm. I did tell you're old. The new reference is called City Skylines. Just go with that. Next time you want to make a Sim City reference.
This is gross. This is so gross.
Yes.
I had to bring this because I didn't really see very many people bringing it yet. And I'm guessing
President
that within,
Trump incited an erection.
well,
took me a while to find the erection.
he can do that in Cam sometimes. Yes, it is hard. It is hard to imagine the burial of hundreds of thousands of Palestinian lives, bodies, dreams, hopes, and memories under the rubble from which will spring these futuristic, soulless buildings that are designed to erase Arab culture, heritage, and history. Palestine will cease to exist in Gaza if this scheme is successful, and of course, we know that's the grand scheme of Netanyahu, the Likud party, and the hardliners in Israel. And not just the hardliners, but apparently a lot of the population. The suspicion that
There's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, right? There certainly is. The suspicion that the so-called
Not to
Gaza...
him.
Well,
Not to that guy.
Man, he got heckled to shit last night, apparently, at a show, and...
Oh, yeah, Block Jerry.
And then said that his wife was doing great work to help his shows out, which I thought was one way to handle it.
Yeah.
The suspicion that the so-called Gaza humanitarian port that the U.S. was so eager to construct using building materials impregnated with Palestinian blood and remains will be nothing more than an element of the U.S. military and economic expansion into West Asia. Gaza will become a, quote, thriving green country with towers and business centers, not a terrorist incubator, says Wynette. Gaza could have been a thriving green country with its independent resource mining providing wealth and growth for the Palestinians had Israel not prevented gas exploration and besieged the enclave, ensuring its descent into a dusty, overcrowded, energy-deprived extermination camp. And then, oh yeah, there's this little thing about Modi being a genocider too.
Yep, which we talked about.
The threat of Iranian expansionism has been the long rolled out pretext for US, UK, and Zionist preemptive violence and destabilization in the region. Protectionism for the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, or IMEC, is paramount as it counters various China, Iran, Russia-led initiatives in the region, including China's Belt and Road. Gaza must be captured as the central junction between the ancient trade routes, Egypt, Gaza, Babylon, and India, Yemen, Saudi Arabia, Europe. For this reason alone, the control...
Canal, anyone?
Yep. I think we've reported on that before over on INN News. For this reason alone, the control of this tiny strip of seaside territory is essential for the future survival of Israel and the alliance of Gulf states, Egypt and Jordan. Turkey may also be included, although Erdogan's recent rhetoric may suggest the opposite. It is not to be trusted. They always side with NATO. That's what Gaza looks like now. Uh-huh. That kind of looks like Lahaina, doesn't it, in a way? With all those bridges. where all the richies live over here,
Yes.
or Miami, you know, where you've got the A1A and everyone lives by the beach, and all the rich people live here, and all the poors live on the other side of 95.
Mm-hmm.
The plan was first
They wouldn't
presented
live that close to farms, though.
Well, remember, you're talking only about a 6 mile wide by 25 mile long strip of land.
Yeah.
The plan was first presented to
those
senior officials of
vineyards?
The plan was first presented to senior officials of the Netanyahu administration in December. Phase 1, the priority is to cleanse northern Gaza of Hamas, a plan which is until now successful. In the future, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt, Bahrain, Jordan, and Morocco will be given control of humanitarian aid entering the Gaza Strip, but only to safe areas. Of course, if you cross over those safe areas, you will be executed by IDF soldiers. Or IOF, whatever you choose to call them. Selected Palestinians from Gaza will be given control of the concentration camp with the supervision of normalized Abraham Accord nations. And of course, those will be puppet leaders that are installed that will be favorable to U.S. interests. Phase 2 will be that Israel...
If they aren't, they're going to start a coup.
Right. Israel will maintain overall security responsibility, which means military rule, oppression, apartheid, and mass imprisonment, torture, and ritual abuse of Palestinians. Just like now, as our friend George Carlin says. Arab states will create a multilateral body to oversee, guide, and fund the, quote, Gaza Rehabilitation Authority, unquote, aka the Reprogramming Indoctrination Committee. This might have come from the World Economic Forum because it certainly sounds this level of dystopian. Palestinians from Gaza will form the Rehabilitation Authority, which will manage the safe areas and ensure they are free of radical resistance ideology. Comparisons to the Marshall Plan are to be ridiculed when taken in the context of the protection and renaissance of Nazism under US-UK protection in the West since the end of World War II. And then you've got your final phase. The selected Palestinians will govern areas of the Gaza enclave and will join the Abraham Accords. It's expected that the Nazi elements, quote unquote, in Netanyahu's coalition regime will not support these plans, preferring the reestablishment of Zionist settlements and exclusive Zionist control. Smotrich and Ben-Gvir will be the first to oppose any Palestinian rule in Gaza. And they're not going anywhere, unfortunately. This plan secures the vision that was laid out in the Netanyahu Commissioned Clean Break Doctrine established in 1997. Israel's long-term security, integration in the region, economic expansion, normalization with Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states. This has been a plan in place for almost 30 years, folks, really. They're not letting it end or anything deterred at this point. And again, phase 1 is where they are continuing to cleanse northern Gaza and install a future multipolar government that's run by the Arab states that are part of the Abraham Accords. Now, this isn't guaranteed to happen because you have hardliners in Israel that are going to try to stop that from even happening and go even further. The U.S. will sell itself as the harbinger of stability in the region while it continues to fund the bombing of the Palestinian people and the cleansing. It will garner military dominance.
He'll do a concert on a trip there.
He'll play Keep on Rocking in the Free World, gaslight the whole region.
Yeah.
It'll garner military dominance and the establishment of a trade corridor, the IMEC, that will bypass the resistance axis plans for trade dominance and the liberation of the global south from neo-colonialist resource theft agendas. Biden is desperate.
Should have played Fortunate Son in Ukraine. It would have been more accurate.
Right?
but
Well,
whatever.
he could play. He could certainly play it in Israel too, since given who his stepfather is.
Yeah.
Biden is desperate to find a way out of his criminal role in the mass slaughter of Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank. Kinda, but not really. As improbable as this plan is to succeed,
Desperate to find his way to the bathroom.
Maybe many Americans might be fooled by the media spin on what is effectively building an empire on genocide again. We can't get fooled again.
Yep.
Which is kind of funny. That's part of the title of the article that I published this week, and we're going to show that at the end during our quick hit segment. The UAE and Bahrain might perceive the plan as an opportunity to expand their influence in the region and to foster a defense alliance with the U.S. and Saudi Arabia, and will gain access to the Mediterranean. So everybody's going to get a little something out of this. How nice. Egypt and Jordan will welcome the concept of de-radicalization of a sector of the resistance axis. Egypt has long used the threat of Hamas to seal the borders with Gaza and to double down on the barbaric siege of 1.5 million Palestinians, the majority of children, inside the battered prison camp. I love how Vanessa doesn't mince words. Watch a video of Egyptian soldiers beating...
That's a video we probably can't show.
Yeah, we're not going to show that. Beating a young Gazan man who was trying to escape Rafah to Egypt. I encourage everyone to go to to Vanessa's Substack. Again, it's Beeley, beeley.substack.com. You'll be able to find this article pretty easily. He says, of course, Israel and the U.S.-led cartel will also be slavering over this project as a potential intervention plan in other countries within the resistance axis: Syria, Yemen, Lebanon. Their intention is to win over the countries resistant to Western imperialism with the poisoned chalice of controlled development, post-Western proxy, and direct destabilization and devastation of these countries. Projects which have left people food insecure, impoverished, and without access to essential resources. By the way, Vanessa lives in Damascus, so this is very personal to her. She lives in Syria. It should come as no surprise that the eradication of the regional history and culture and the reprogramming of entire peoples will be in their playbook. It's partly why Israel destroyed every museum and every house of worship in Gaza. And every university. Tantalizing incentives will be dangled in front of people who have been starved, bombed, deprived, and terrified on a 24/7 basis. Free trade zones in Gaza, Al-Arish, Sinai. Trade with Europe and the U.S. The U.S. and Gulf states. Rail links, energy, and regional infrastructure development. However, will the Palestinians be allowed to leave their safe areas? Or will they continue to live in militarized and segregated ghettos? Albeit maybe slightly nicer.
Find out next time on
The Worst Story Ever Told.
What?
The development of the Gaza gas reservoirs will finally happen, but will be of no benefit to Palestinians, of course. Solar fields in the Sinai will provide energy for regional desalination facilities. After years of Israel bombing and destroying Gaza's desalination capabilities and depriving Gaza of the energy to run the plants, of course. EVs can be manufactured in the northern Gaza Strip. What? Factories will be established in these areas and in the occupied territories neighboring Gaza. Slave labor, anyone? Raw materials will come from Saudi Arabia and the Emiratis. Yes. Cars coming off the production line will be shipped to Europe from the port at Al-Arish. They have an entire plan. Holy shit. Again, quoting from the piece, the rebuilding of Gaza will require raw materials and services from the Gulf states, which will create for them demand and opportunities for foreign investment. They're bringing the private business in. And look at how they lay it out that everybody gets to participate, including the population of Gaza themselves. Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
A win-win, win-win,
Only as,
win-win-win.
Laborers, practically. Right.
Is this the idea of a Palestinian state? Probably, according to the New York Times on the 6th of May, quote, Emirati and Saudi officials and analysts said the new proposal would not secure the involvement of Arab states like Saudi Arabia and the UAE, particularly because it stopped short of guaranteeing Palestinian sovereignty and would permit continued Israeli military operations inside Gaza. The Saudi government has said it will not normalize ties with Israel unless Israeli leaders take irrevocable steps toward creating a Palestinian state, which we know will never happen. However, the New York Times, fuck those propagandists, goes on to say, quote, still the proposal is the most detailed plan for post-war Gaza that Israeli officials have known to have discussed, and parts of it align with ideas articulated by Arab leaders in both public and in private, unquote.
Well, military sounds like the Beastie Boys album we never got. Yeah.
Regional businessmen are promoting the idea, according to the New York Times, briefing officials from Arab and Western regimes, including the U.S., Egypt, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Okay, we're going to have to edit that one. Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and UAE. It has also been shown to none other than war criminal Tony Blair, who works in an advisory capacity for the Saudi regime on modernization, quote-unquote, projects. Allegedly, a Palestinian businessman is also promoting the idea to American officials. I just hope it's not one entertainer that we know who hasn't said a word about his people and had to be carried on stage so that his sneakers didn't get dirty. Congratulations. You played yourself.
Another one.
Yeah, that guy. Fuck him. There are a lot of denials being given to the Times in response to questions as to their awareness and approval of the Zionist U.S. plans, but I would take these with a very large pinch of political salt. The UAE is pushing a two-state solution, which has never been anything but a conflict resolution mirage, and which is now impossible to achieve with the increase of settlements in the occupied territories and the genocidal campaign in Gaza. What is certain is that this plan has been in the Zionist U.S. pipeline for perhaps decades and is now only being put into effect with the exploitation of events from October 7th by Israel to secure the Nakba II in Gaza and to increase the Zionist footprint in what remains of Palestine and the occupied territories. Will it succeed with against the rise of the East and the increased unity of the resistance axis impervious to Western Zionist sectarian divide and rule machinations?
Unity!
It will be a war to secure the regional heritage and cultural identity against a dystopian future of invisibility and eradication of all that is precious to the people of the region. I believe it will be won by an increasingly... Go ahead.
That sounds like the actual words to the Pledge of Allegiance. Invisibility and eradication.
Of all that is precious to people of the region.
Yeah.
I believe it will be won by an increasingly powerful and united resistance axis and non-aligned alliance, but not without cost and sacrifice. Please do watch this video by Maher Musali, which is Our Faith is Stronger Than Your Bombs. And again, I cannot show this on YouTube. As the Venezuelan ambassador, Jose Biomorgi, said at the Future of the Region conference in Damascus on April 9th, we, the resistance axis, must never underestimate the neo-colonialist bloc, their cohesion, and their tremendous resources, paraphrased. At the same conference, iconic Syrian Catholic priest Pere Elias Zalawi, a profoundly spiritual and humble man, told Vanessa herself that the terrible sacrifice made by the Palestinian people will awaken the world and bring about huge transformation for humanity. We are at a crossroads, and the West is fighting for survival. This is when it's at its most dangerous and Machiavellian. And please, of course, do consider subscribing to Vanessa's Substack, of which I am a paid subscriber, because we support independent media. And you can see I commented and said she's the best. And a bunch of people like that, including Vanessa herself. Friend of the show, friend of the network, friend of Misty, friend of all of ours. Again, we don't have enough independent journalists that tell it like it is and give us the scoop before everybody else does. Vanessa is one of those people that does not get nearly enough light on what she does. This, by the way, is the Ynet article that she was quoting. You can see it's in Hebrew. And I believe I can do a little translate here. No, maybe not. My Brave browser automatically offered me the ability to translate this. But it pretty much lays out what she lays out. You can see this is how, where they're starting to move stuff. But there was nothing really new in here. So I just wanted to point out that they only published this article in Hebrew. Why?
So you have to read it with a little stick. You know what I mean? Little pointer stick.
That's only the Torah. That's the Torah, you dumbass. So that you're not supposed to touch it with your hands. You don't read every book with a stick. Okay. Friend of the show, Lee Camp, says, boy, nothing screams, we're trying to rescue the hostages, like posting your plans for completely destroying and replacing Gaza. The below image is the plan from Netanyahu's office, but yeah, it's just the hostages. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is gross. Hitler had a vision as well. He called it Germania. The world said no to him and will say no to is not real. But the difference is Germany didn't have the U.S. behind it, and Israel does. All right. So let me go here.
Yeah, but who got all those scientists they have?
Yeah. Did we really lose? Did we really win the Cold War? Did we really win World War II? I don't know. Before we go on, I have not put this up yet, and we are already 3 stories in. But if you are able and of means, I know that we've had a QR code up to be able to support Jesse Jett. We also have these other methods, patreon.com/Indie News Network, indienewsnetwork.substack.com, where I publish article every Friday, an update on everything that's been going on in the network. And then, of course, Rumble. We are streaming live over to Rumble. Hi, Rumble, if you're over there. Oh, Dave Burt, what's going on? Dave Burt made it over to Rockfin. Good to see you, sir. Oh, that's me griefing. Well, I'm not that forward about it, but no thinking person should put up with it. Their editorials suggest that men in Boston don't want to go to war, to change Turkey and other countries on this, to kill them, to change any backwardness here. Our oppressors, or should not be listened to on anything. NPR has completely lost the working people, regular people of Boston. Shout out to Dave. I don't deny that there are conservative patriarchal things going on in both the streets and the government policy and behavior of Turkey. So Dave has quite a bit to say over on the Rockfin. Anna was over on INN Rockfin earlier. Dave, I know you're over on Indie Left Rockfin. I certainly appreciate you being over there. Let me sweep that out. Over on INN, the man in the high castle. That's right, Earl of Laura. That's what that photo did. Reminded me also of NPR lost him on Syria with Aaron Mate and the white helmets and the white phosphorus.
I feel like you could do a whole nother series of Man in the High Castle, just modern day.
Who are these people?
They're pretty much doing the same thing in Israel.
Who are these people?
Like,
right?
You know?
So, I do have one more story that's fun. Wow, it's 11:15. This is good, and then we're gonna get to like a little quick around the world stuff, quick hits. So, you know that I've been watching this cat, Ian Carroll. We showed a couple of his videos, the one about the CIA girls, Girl Squad, and there was another one I think we showed. This one I was really impressed with. He talked about GameStop, and a lot of people don't really understand what's going on with GameStop and what happened and why people are freaking out. And I think he does a really good video to kind of explain in 10 minutes what the hell's going on and which side we might want to be on and where he stands and why he understands what he does. So you can see this guy, Matt, says on a tweet, "I can't believe this GameStop thing is still going on. Can someone please explain it to me? I love Ian and everything he stands for, but I literally have no idea what this is about or how one stock could have any real effect on impacting ultra wealthy people. I'm down to help in any way. I can just need to understand what's going on." So Ian says, "I got you." And let's watch what Ian says.
So this homie said, "I can't believe this GameStop thing is still going on. Can someone explain it to me? I love Ian and everything he stands for, but I literally have no idea what this is about or how one stock could have any real effect on impacting ultra wealthy people. I'm down to help. I just need to understand what's going on." I got you, Matt. I'm gonna try to put it all into one video right now. I've made lots of videos about pieces of this, but I'm gonna try to actually explain the real thesis of what's going on and why GameStop very well could affect the entire market, bring down corrupt financial institutions on a big scale. But yeah, I gotta put my hair up for this one. Okay, don't get scared.
I don't know why he had to show putting his hair
up. Buy
up.
stocks normally, you're buying at a lower price and you're hoping it goes up so you can sell it and make some money, right? Well, there's no rule in the stock market that says you're not allowed to borrow something from someone, right? So you're allowed to borrow shares from your homie. And if you borrow something, you're allowed to do what you want with it, right? I can borrow some shares and then sell them on the market right now. I just have to return them later to make sure that homie gets his shares back, right? So you're allowed to do this thing called short selling, where you borrow some shares from whoever right now, and you sell them at the market right now, hoping actually the price will go down. And then later you'll buy some and return them to your homie. And you actually make money because you return them for less money than you actually made when you sold them in the first place. So short selling is this thing where you can bet the market will go down, and it's like taking out a loan, and when the market goes down, then you close out the loan and you make some money. You have to pay a little interest to keep that loan open, but you can make a lot of money doing that. Especially if you see a company that's obviously gonna die because it's a failing business model and you wanna make some money while it dies. But you wanna be really careful, because if you have all these loans open and you're paying interest to keep your loans open, you're hoping the price goes down, but then it starts to go up a lot, you could lose a lot of money because you'd have to buy them all back at a higher price to pay back your loan, and you had to pay interest to keep your loan open. And prices can go up infinitely, theoretically. So short selling is pretty dangerous, and everyone knows that. And back in the 90s, all these rich people at Bain Capital, like Mitt Romney, they realized that they can actually take companies down from the inside and basically loot a company from the inside, take all its money, give it to them and their buddies, the shareholders, and then bankrupt it and leave. And there's not really any consequences. You just buy into the company, buy a bunch of shares, get yourself on the board, take it over, start hiring people that'll do what you want, mismanage it, do a bunch of buybacks so the money gets paid back out to you and the shareholder buddies, and you can really just mismanage the company into the ground and basically loot it for all it's worth. And when it goes bankrupt, it's like, oh well, whoopsies, it was destined to fail. We'll just move on to the next company, whatever, my mistake. And they made billions of dollars doing this to Toys R Us, and everyone else was looking around like, damn, that was a pretty solid strategy, Bain Capital. Maybe we could do that to some other companies. And this was just after the .com bubble happened, and so there was this whole internet thing. Amazon was on the rise, and everyone kind of realized,
I want to pause for a second, because That's fucking crazy, first of all. And second of all, not only does the company go out of business, but the pension fund goes to the capital company somehow. Like all the employees that worked for that company that went out of business don't get the pension fund. It's unbelievable. And oh yeah, they paid themselves hundreds of billions of dollars and hundreds of millions of dollars in fees, quote unquote, to manage these transactions and to run these companies into the ground.
You know, there's all these retail stores out there that are probably in big trouble, like Blockbuster and Sears and GameStop, you know, companies that are bound to fail. So why don't we make them fail faster and profit off of that? Plus, it turns out that these dudes that work at places like Bain Capital that can take these places down from the inside out, turns out they have a lot of friends in the market that like to short sell. And the thing about supply and demand is when I'm borrowing like thousands and thousands and thousands of shares and selling them into the market right now, all that selling actually makes the price of the stock go down, because like when everyone's selling something, it gets valued less. But when everyone wants to buy something, the value goes up, right? So short selling actually makes a stock's price go down. And these guys realize that, like, you know, you like to make money when stocks go down, and I like to make money when companies get destroyed. And when we do those both at the same time, everybody wins, except the company, of course. And then it turned out they were like, hey, we both know a lot of people in the mainstream media that like to report on failing companies. You know, the kinds of reports that make investors scared and make them want to sell a stock. And they realized they kind of had the dream team for bankrupting companies, and they could all make money on the way down and no one would ever stop them because it's kind of legal. And it actually started to work so well that they started to get really greedy, and they started to naked short sell, which means like no one's checking if we're even borrowing these shares that we're borrowing in order to short sell. So why even borrow them? We can just short sell shares and say we borrowed them, and the company's going to go bankrupt anyways. And when it does go bankrupt, we don't even need to pay that loan back because there's no shares to give back. They're gone. And fun fact,
I don't know how that's
it's all tax-free money too, because there's no
Tax-free!
The shares are gone. Free money. So some of them got really greedy and started selling without even borrowing the shares in the first place. But we'll come back to that in just a second. Because the other thing that's important to realize about the stock market is it's like this big casino game now. So it's not like the big boys aren't just playing with like a share of a company. They're playing with these things that are called derivatives, which is like leveraging your assets to take out loans to like make big plays, big gambles. So they use all these special kinds of contracts where like they put up collateral in order for their bank or whoever to let them trade on a whole bunch of extra money they don't really have, but they've got collateral. So if it starts to go sideways, the bank can just take their collateral and it's all safe. But like this way, I can trade with 100.
Right. Look at this. So this guy has $3 million in assets, but because he's able to trade up to almost $50 million worth, even though he's only got $3 million because of the way that these derivatives work.
Times the money of what I actually have. It's called leverage. And all these different tricks, they're called derivatives. And they let these big players gamble with huge positions in the market. And so this now, when the stock moves by $1, they're leveraged 100x. And so if the stock goes up by $1, they can make like 100x $1. Or if the stock goes down, vice versa. And this derivatives market has gotten really big, like hundreds of trillions of dollars worth of these weird bets just all over the market. These are the top banks. It's like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, their names are over there. And this is in millions of dollars. So we're talking $49 million. That is $49 trillion worth of these derivative bets open with just JP Morgan, the biggest bank. But the thing about these derivatives is they all have collateral backing them up, right? And the thing they use for collateral, they're not like you and me. It's not like they're putting up their car for collateral. They're putting up their other assets. So over here, they're going to be trading these assets on that collateral. And over here, they're trading the collateral on these assets. And so the whole market is now tied together by all these big financial institutions trading trillions of dollars worth of stocks that they don't actually have on leverage that's based on collateral that they're trading for trillions of dollars worth of stock over there. You see what I mean? So like if they fuck this one up, then that one gets fucked. There's all these dudes doing this like kind of criminal shorting businesses out of existence scheme in the market, kind of in secret. And they've been targeting GameStop for years now. Ever since 2014, the stock was on this endless ramp down. They were short selling it while they had infiltrated it and were mismanaging the company from the inside out. Amazon was licking its lips, ready to take over the video game online industry. And the people doing all this short selling also have all these other crazy bets open all over the market. And if any of them go wrong, a whole lot of things go wrong. And then out of nowhere, this random dude that would like live stream to 4 people about his investment thesis noticed that GameStop had a lot of short sellers, and it wasn't necessarily a bad company. In fact, it had a future if it turned around. And then this really savvy businessman came and took over the company and started turning it around. And he kicked out all the bad people that had been trying to mismanage it to death.
I love the music.
All the people that had just spent years and years short selling millions and millions of shares, and all those loans were still open because they were expecting it to go to zero and they wouldn't have to pay them back. Suddenly the price is going up and they're all in trouble. Because the thing is, when the price goes up and one of the other people that's short selling the company gets scared and closes out their trades, they have to buy all those shares back to get out of that, right? Because they borrowed and sold, so now I have to buy and give them back. But all that buying makes the price go up even higher. And there were a lot of people short selling this thing. And in fact, they had short sold it so much that they couldn't afford to buy it all back once the price started going up that high. I mean, it was down to like 50 cents and they were opening short sales at 50 cents. Today we're at what, $60 times millions and millions and millions of shares that you have to buy back? Each one will make the price go up, and the whole stock market is tied together by...
All right, he went a little fast there, but if you sold a short at 50 cents and the price is now $60, not only are you covering the interest, but you also now have to pay $59.50 per share times millions of shares. The banks don't have this money, is what he's trying to say.
By all these crazy financial derivatives, and everyone's balance sheets are actually kind of sketchy in the first place. Yeah, and we all realize that all we have to do is buy the shares and just hold on to them, because these guys need to buy them from us in order to close their trades out. Whoopsies. And
Whoopsies.
You know, the more we thought about it, the more we realized, no, I don't really want to sell. Fuck you. So then they tried to trick us into thinking that they had already closed their positions and it was all over. And we were like, I'm pretty sure you're lying, dude. So we just held on for years. And it turns out we were right. Shorts never closed. And now we've all got the shares that they need in order to close. And you know, I still don't want to sell. Fuck you.
In another video, he goes, I'm not here to make money. I'm here to see motherfuckers go to jail. And that was like, it made me smile so big. And he wants to make money, of course, but what he wants to do is crash the entire market. And these GameStop guys that they use the R word to describe, the Wall Street bets guys.
I can't believe this GameStop.
All right. There was another video that I also liked. You know, that was tremendous. Tremendous. This guy does tremendous work. His mustache is annoying. His hair is whatever. And I know Anna's like, what's with the mustache? I can't take it. Well, look at that. They did a capitalism. Yeah, well, yes, but this is beyond a capitalism. This is literal market manipulation, betting on companies to fail, then making sure they did fail and taking all the money in the process. All right. Yes, what the fuck is right, Earl? And I think that what they're talking about is the Iranian president. They're showing pics of the crash site.
We'll get to that, I'm sure.
No, we're not going to get to that tonight, at least, but I'm sure you guys will probably get to it on.
No, I know.
On INN News. All right. Good. Let us. All right. I got a new little thing that I set up, and let's see how well this works. I don't know if Reef's going to hear it. I know I'm going to hear it. That was not the sound that I wanted it to have, but okay.
are these people?
That's so long. I did a shorter version of that took out the first part, but that was cool. This is called Around the World. This is a new segment that we've decided to add, the kind of little quick hits, and that includes the promotions and what's upcoming on the network. We've got about 30 minutes or so left, and I have some things that we're going to kind of lightning round through. First one, Lee Camp shows Columbia students, after being abused and attacked by the university, held their own packed pro-Palestine graduation at St. John's Cathedral. And this picture is iconic. Gorgeous. Wow. They did this on their own. Fuck the administration. Fuck the NYPD. You know, Columbia shut it down and decided they didn't want to have anybody protest or speak out on behalf of Palestine at their graduation, so they just shut it down. We said this 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago when we covered the protests last, that they're just shutting down graduation. And after Morehouse College today embarrassed Joe Biden, I can understand why they would want to do that, but still, it's robbing these kids who were deprived of a high school graduation 4 years ago because of COVID. Now they're getting deprived of a college graduation. All right. So that was the first thing I wanted to bring. The next one, I don't know if any of you remember Redacted Tonight with Lee Camp, that show that used to be on. We're going to stop that. It's only 15 seconds. He does a very short, quick 15-second thing, and he calls it Cops. So Jaffer was like the last man in at Redacted Tonight. He's great, really funny. And he makes these little, he's a stand-up comedian who also makes little videos. And this one is called Cops. All right, so we're going to refresh that.
Running away. Cop unalives a man who was running away. Cop forces a woman's face into an ant pile. Cop shoots a man in the back. Cop abuses women. Cop essays minors. Cop traffics humans. Cop essays a dead woman. Yeah. New episode every Thursday. This week on Cap.
It's literally that fast. Like, it just, Michigan, like, you have to stop it to see all the NYPD officers shoot and kill man who pointed gun during argument in Brooklyn. Details on active investigation. Here's Houston. Video shows cops holding a mom down in bed of fire ants as they attacked her face, and she pleaded for help. Jesus. Nice. All right, then it's officer guarding mayor's house unjustifiably shot a man from behind. And then new felony domestic abuse charges filed against former Louisiana State Police trooper. Nice. We didn't see this coming, former Lehigh cop allegedly sexually assaulted middle schooler in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And then you have former Idaho Falls cop charged with human trafficking and prostitution. Nice guy got there. Family to receive $250,000 in case of LAPD officer who touched a dead woman's breast. Nice. Necrophilia. Stay tuned next week for Cops. Follow him on Instagram at JafferKhan Comic, KHAN. Links again will all be in the Substack afterwards. You know this guy. Kit Clarenberg, Indie Media Award honoree. He got kicked off of Twitter, and we covered that a couple of weeks ago. Well, guess who's back? Back again. Oh, we can't play that. So, as he said, as I said before, I was so rudely interrupted. Fuck Zionists. And then he says, during my enforced absence, my dear friend Alex Rubenstein and I launched a podcast, Rubenstein and Clarenberg. No, it's not called Rubenstein and Clarenberg, though it should have been. The attorneys at law. It's called Active Measures.
Rubenberg and Clarenstein.
We shit on the deep state, so you don't have to. Please follow, share, and subscribe. Yes, and Blumenthal is somewhere in there too. It's a Blumenthal production. He's a senior partner in the firm. Speaking of Blumenthal, the head of the law firm, Guess who's back?
Yep.
And his co-host for Active Measures, yet another Indie Media Award honoree, Alex Rubinstein. It's been 1 week since you looked at me. No, almost 2 years since he was on Friends of Indie Left interview. That was one of the more interesting interviews I've ever done. Was having a sit down chat with Alex. I really appreciate him doing that. And I had something to say. Hey, check that out. Welcome back. And we've got a little graphic for Kit. And then we've got this guy sitting next to me. Guess who's back? Tell a friend. Elizabeth Voss, Consortium News. Welcome back. Alex says, I don't know. And this is the other quick hit that I wanted. So not only did Kit and Alex start a show, but they did this segment. I don't know. It seems pretty wild to me that the Secretary of State can visit a restaurant in Ukraine with Nazi imagery plastered on every wall, and there's nothing but crickets from the media. How is this not a massive scandal? Have you heard of this? Did you hear about this?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Anthony Blinken, Joe Biden's Jewish Secretary of State, dining at a Nazi establishment in Ukraine. The story was first picked up by journalist Che Bose. The restaurant is adorned with Nazi insignia. It even has a photograph depicting the 2014 Nazi attack on the trade union building in Odessa when ultranationalist thugs massacred 42 innocents inside. One wall is covered in military badges, from the neo-Nazi right sector to the Azov Battalion and even World War II-era German SS divisions. As if the patches weren't enough, on the restaurant's Google Photos page, I found SS memorabilia, a framed Azov logo complete with a Sonnenrad, and a framed right sector flag. The restaurant is called Pizza Veterano, here boasting on its Facebook page that Blinken dined here with the Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba. Last year, Blinken and Kuleba shared some freedom fries at McDonald's. Kuleba said this time that he insisted on a Ukrainian restaurant. The restaurant is part of the Veterano Group, owned by Leonid Olstatsev. One of their branches, or what's left of it, was based in Mariupol and was owned by a former member of the Azov Battalion. Here's Olstatsev on Facebook praising the neo-Nazi C-14 organization. The 14 refers to the neo-Nazi 14-word slogan. After the Maidan Colorado, Blinken signed an agreement with the Kiev municipal government to patrol its streets in early 2018. Months later, it began a campaign of pogroms against Roma populations. The group's leader is Yevhen Kadas, seen here sig heiling, and seen here meeting with Volodymyr Zelensky. In this video, from just before the war, Kadas states, "We have fun killing, and we have fun fighting, and we have started a war that has not been seen in 60 years. And finally, he states that if it were not for the neo-Nazis at the Maidan, it would have been a, quote, gay parade. But the U.S. Secretary of State is not the first prominent American to visit this questionable establishment. Meet Craig Lang, an American taking refuge in Ukraine who is wanted by the FBI. After returning from war in Iraq and Afghanistan, Lang fell into dispute with his then-pregnant wife. She apparently retaliated against him by sending him videos of her having sex with other men. Lang allegedly gathered up body armor, night vision goggles, and 2 assault rifles. He ditched his base in Texas and drove straight to North Carolina, where his wife lived. He then surrounded her condominium with landmines and attempted to kill her. While on the front lines in Ukraine in 2017, Lang and other Americans fell under investigation by the Department of Justice and the FBI. They are believed to have, quote, committed or participated in torture, cruel or inhumane treatment, or murder of persons who did not take or stop taking part in hostilities, and intentionally inflicting grievous bodily harm on them. Leaked documents from the Department of Justice's Criminal Division of the Office of International Affairs claim Lang and other suspects, quote, allegedly took non-combatants as prisoners, beat them with their fists, kicked them, clobbered them with socks filled with stones, and held them underwater. Lang is said to be the main instigator of the torture. He, quote, may have even killed some of them before burying their bodies in unmarked graves. According to the leaks, one American under Lang's command showed FBI investigators a video of Lang beating, torturing, and eventually killing a local. Another video referenced in the leaks apparently shows Lang beating and drowning a girl while a fellow fighter injected her with adrenaline so that she would not pass out while she was killed. Lang allegedly carried out these crimes as a member of the Right Sector, an organization that's been incorporated into the Ukrainian military. When he came back to the United States, Lang and his friend decided it was their mission to overthrow the socialist government of Venezuela and, quote, kill communists. But there was just one problem. Lang couldn't pay for it, so he wound up murdering a couple and stealing $3,000 from them. Another American that's been to the restaurant is a neo-Nazi figure by the name of Paul Gray. Early on in the war, Fox News featured Gray no less than 6 times on their channel. In 2018, Gray was slapped with a citation for trespassing on Texas State University grounds while he was distributing flyers for the neo-Nazi Patriot Front organization. Gray joined up with Patriot Front to train them in combat. He's also been associated with the Traditionalist Workers' Party, a leader of the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, as well as the Atomwaffen Division, a neo-Nazi
this is the guy that was
members have trained with Ukraine's Azov
spaces
battalion, which was designated
Russell
as an illegal
Bentley.
terrorist organization by the United Kingdom and Canada. After years of battling leftists in the streets of America, Gray found his way to Kiev, Ukraine, to open up a gym. This was his in to the ultra-nationalist scene in Ukraine, which is jam-packed with mixed martial arts obsessives. Following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Gray joined up with the Georgian National Legion, a group that I've personally exposed for a myriad
heading over there.
As Secretary Blinken condemns liberal Gen Z activists in the US as anti-Semites, apparently a well-known neo-Nazi establishment in Ukraine is totally kosher.
Hey everyone, if you enjoyed this video or any of our other content, please give us a follow on Twitter or subscribe to us on YouTube. It will help us beat the algorithm.
That's Kit Clarenberg, by the way, if you've never seen his face.
That's
other
one
than...
fucking nice kitty right there.
Nice. If you've never seen his face other than or listened to his voice, that's Kit Clarenberg, by the way. Most people have only read his work and haven't really listened to him. Good dude, man. So glad he's back. We also have big congratulations for a friend of the network, Sabby Sabs. 100,000 subscribers. Congratulations. That's right. 100,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Congratulations.
So she's going to be getting her silver plaque real soon, I'm sure. That's great. So happy for her. We've been there pretty much from the beginning of the Sabby Sabs podcast and watched her grow, and it's really cool to see her hit that number. Not many people do.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know already, youtube.com/SabbySabs. She's also a member of Revolutionary Blackout Network, so go check her out over there. And then I got a couple of plugs and just some things that are going on. Of course, we know that on June 9th, Jett will be appearing in New York City at Do Dissidents Live, which is now sold out, both shows. And they're having a 2 p.m. and a Do Desiccants, that's right. They'll dry you out for sure. The 2 p.m. and the 7 p.m. show are both sold out. So by all means, there will be a Rumble live stream allegedly for premium members. So you may need to be some kind of a premium member of Do Dissidents in order to see it live. Or I don't know how that's going to work. Details to follow. That's about 2 weeks away. 3 weeks. And then finally, on Friday, I was on Hardlands Media going through and with Kit Clarenberg, Kit Cabello. See, I got Kit Clarenberg on the brain now. The other Kit. Kit Cabello.
Kit show. Make that happen.
We would love to do that. About none of the above, and don't get fooled again with Crystal and Kyle endorsing, or was it really even Crystal endorsed Jill, it appears on the podcast, and said that she would that I intend to vote for you. What the fuck is that? I intend.
Grow up, get serious.
Exactly. Grow up, get serious. If you're going to say you're going to vote for someone, say you're going to vote for someone. Not that I intend to vote for you. She's already like worming her way out of it, and she hasn't even gotten there yet. So I wrote up a thing.
Stop embarrassing yourself.
No, he can't. But I wrote up a thing at indiemediatoday.com that has both a link to the 1 hour conversation with Kit. It's also up on Rumble, and a link to read the article that I published about Don't Get Fooled Again, and really just vote for none of the above, because we're not voting our way out of this. My contention is that Jill Stein is not going to get to 5%. All of this fighting is going to effectively drive traffic and energy into a effort that will go absolutely nowhere and be in nowhere come November. And that is a concern of mine, that all of this energy that could be used to be put towards achieving something will be driven directly into the ground with the intent of Democrats. And that is why somebody got in Kyle's and Crystal's ear and said, hey, I know you like her. It wouldn't hurt us if you went out there and said some nice things about her, because they need to attack her on corporate media. Now they have a reason to. Now they have a reason to spear her. Now they have a reason, if anything, you know, they're still going to ignore her, but they'll misrepresent who she is and what her policies are. And how do any of them plan on overcoming any of that? They have no answers. Zero answers for overcoming it. And I like Jill Stein. Of all the candidates, she might be the lesser evil, but what does lesser evil logic get us? Ask Jesse Jett. He'll tell you. So, support independent media. We love you. We appreciate all of you. Dave Burt dropped $2 on Rockfin. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Anna Mayers is amazing. Friday night, I know on the Jesse Clip show, I think she sent over $10 for the Jesse Fund over on Cash App. Again, love to everybody that can help. If you can't help, totally understand. Watch, enjoy the content, share it, please, so that other people see it. Just like Kit, you know, if you can pick up a monthly subscription, awesome. You can one-time pay us and hook us up with some cash. Amazing. Really appreciate it. But we do this and we make all our content available for free. Everything we do. So, love y'all. We're going to do boats in a little bit. We got 10 minutes, so I can plug the key in, get everything changed over, and then we'll laugh a little bit after dealing with some dystopian shit. So, you're on Bond Cam, so here.
Oh. Yeah, I can.
So, yeah, I'm spent. And I'm spent. So, have a great week, everyone. I don't know if we're going to be back next weekend. I don't know what our plans are for Memorial Day weekend. There's a special event happening in my family next weekend, so I don't know. But support independent media. We need it more than ever. Thank you. I love you. And I will see you soon.
Be back for boats. Bye-bye.
Bye, have a great time.
I think I liked it better being blind, when I couldn't read between the lines, and when I couldn't see the cracks in the structure that lay bare before me the whole time. I think I liked it better back when I suspended disbelief and swallowed pride. I thought I knew the difference in the red from the blue, but they both bleed us so dry. They both bleed us so dry.
My favorite songs don't hit the same way. I get to the end of a 4-minute track and I'm only looking back thinking, what did they actually say?